Welcome to my show. I'm a guest here. His name is Johnzelle Anderson. Mr. John, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well.
All
Thank you
right,
for
Mr.
having me.
All right, Mr. John. And also, thank you so much for the time and the opportunity. Firstly, you are a licensed therapist. Can you please, Mr. John, discuss more about yourself and how you are doing currently now, Mr. John?
I've been a therapist for over a decade now. I'm licensed in the United States. I'm licensed in Maryland, Virginia, and Georgia. Um, and a few years ago, I started describing myself as a therapist and a storyteller. So a lot of my work as a therapist, people come in and tell their stories, right? And I use storytelling as a way to connect with my clients, but also as a creative writer, I tell stories. So there's an exchange between those two identities. So they give and take from each other.
Very much beautiful. There is nothing more beautiful than stories. Stories bring out a lot of
Hmm.
light and also share a lot of lessons in regards to everything that we have as well, and also connected to your work as well as a therapist. And that is why I would like to drive to your profound book, which have a lot of historic background regarding your personality mixtape. Can you please, Mr. John,
Hmm.
discuss more on the book? And do you also plan to write more books in the coming future, Mr. John?
Yes. So I'll answer the second question first, because that one's a little bit simpler to answer. I currently have two books that I'm working on to follow up mixtape. So one is a children's book, and one is it's either going to be a novella or a full length novel. We'll figure that out as it progresses, and then after that, I have a second memoir that I want to write, but I want to do it in verse, so it'll be written in poetry. Yes, I am actively working on other projects. Um, but to describe a little bit about mixtape and memoir, I don't know if your audience sees video, but this is the book I have in my hand here. Um, it is My favorite genre to read is memoir. It is now, as a therapist, I obviously get paid to, hear people's stories and kind of get involved in their lives that way. But as a human being, I enjoy being invited into people's inner world. And there are, memoir is a way to connect with a person that you may not get to share space with. I've, read so many memoirs. I mean, I may never meet like Taraji P. Henson or Jennifer Lewis or Trevor Noah, but I know their stories intimately because I've read their books multiple times, and in writing my own memoir, I wanted to do it in a way that was unique to me. I think musically, like I can't remember a time where there isn't a song playing in my head. If I'm walking down a hall or you know, whatever I'm doing, whether it's literally music playing or I'm doing something mundane, there's something playing in my head. So when I wrote a mixtape, a memoir, I wanted it to be a literary mixtape. So it's a book, but think of like if you were gonna have the movie of your life made, people might be like, "Oh, well, who am I gonna cast to play me, or who's gonna play whatever." I don't care about that. What I care about is what is that soundtrack? Because I've always imagined, ooh, this would be on the soundtrack of my life, right? So in creating mixtape, I crafted the book around a playlist instead of a table of contents. And there's a real playlist that goes with the book at the start of the book. Let me find it here. If your audience can see, there are QR codes at the start of the book where they can scan and listen to the playlist as they read. Um, and at the beginning of each chapter, there's a cassette tape with the song that goes because I don't call them chapters, I call them tracks. So the track that introduces the that section of the story that song that resonates with what I'm about to say. And that's what we do with mixtapes. When we make a playlist or a mixtape for a friend, it means something specifically to what you're sharing. And I wanted to do that with my book. So the soundtrack of my life was able to be accomplished through mixtape and memoir. And so I think I succeeded at creating a literary mixtape and doing this project.
Thank you so much. There is nothing more beautiful than doing something different. A memoir is
Mm.
something that we always know to understand someone's perspective, someone's story, and also someone's background. But to create it as a sense of a soundtrack, as a mixtape, something that can deal with a playlist, and also having a QR code on the book where people can also listen along in regards to the playlist on the book, shows how profound connection it is in regards to also music as well, to bring out the story and also share the message to people who are also out there. And also, I also like to drive to the point where you have a lot of personal stories in growing up, feeling like an outsider in every single space. How do you think that also shape your understanding of identity and belonging, Mr. John?
So feeling like an outsider, um, the second there's a double meaning to the title mixtape. So obviously a mixtape is a playlist, but uh, mixed is what they called me growing up in the 90s. So I my father is West African and a white lady from Michigan. So when you have a black parent and a white parent, they call you mixed, so mixtape, but also obviously the playlist. So identity was interesting in various stages of my life because I'm clearly brown, but I was raised in whiteness. So I don't look like my caregiver because my father was relatively absent. So I'm being raised in whiteness, but then you go to say school and people are like, "What are you?" Or you know, when you're hanging out with the black kids, they're like, "Well, you're not really black because you're light skinned," or "You're not white because you're brown." You know, so it's uh, I didn't ask for my you know race, I guess, but the world wants to define who you are and what does that mean about you. And so the identity is that it doesn't just focus on race, but it's you know my identity at like faith wise, like, you know, being raised Catholic, but then kind of rebelling against that, going kind of Protestant, and then deconstructing Christianity in my 20s. There's sexuality, like people trying to define who um, or what I am before I even was concerned about it. And then kind of that evolution of my sexuality into adulthood. There's your identity as you know a friend, as a family member, as a child, as a father, you know, and all of this interconnectedness. And I think what this book taught me is that um, you know I write a letter to myself at the very end, and I part of what I say to myself is spend less time worrying about if people like you, um, because no matter what you do, there's going to be someone who doesn't like you. There's going to be a space that makes you feel like an outsider. Spend time in the spaces that embrace you and accept you, and don't waste your energy trying to be somewhere where um, you're not welcome or you're not wanted. And I think that was the benefit of my story is that I was able to figure out like someone can try to make me feel like an outsider, but I love, like, and understand who I am. So I'm not really ever an outsider anymore.
Very much
And
beautiful,
I
as
hope
you
that
said.
readers can feel that as well.
Yes, I can 100% feel that. In our life, we have to continue to be around people that also align with our values and also see us as one of them. And that is the profound beauty of every single stages in our life. And as you've said, your father who is from the West Africa, your mother who is from the West Virginia, it shows the differences. And you being raised up in the wise community at large shows a lot of differences as well. And to build yourself down to the position whereby you have a lot of triumphs, ups and downs, and also conquered every single situation in regards to your belief as well, shows a lot of profound ways as well, and also profound insight to also help every single person to also understand the perspective of life and also understand how they can also grow in every single area of their life. And I would like to drive to the point of your grandmother, because your grandmother really played a very huge, significant role in your life, Mr. John. So, how do you think her presence really shaped your healing and your belief in a better future, Mr. John?
Yeah, my grandmother is she's interwoven throughout mixtape. And the cool thing about sharing my story and her being a one of the people who is throughout the entire story is that it's not a linear, like she's always a certain mood or sometimes she's the villain, sometimes she's my confidant, sometimes I have to distance myself from her, right? But in the midst of a childhood in which I was being abused, neglected, in myriad ways, my grandmother, when I was younger, was my anchor. It was somebody who I knew loved me, right? But then at the same time, as I got older and as her, you know, the veil and the facade that I thought was this perfect being started to crack, and I saw her as a wounded human, you know. She became the op for a little bit. Um, and navigating that, it's like, okay, I had support, but now this support might hurt me if I don't put up boundaries. And then there was me coming into adulthood and kind of finding ways to have her in my life, but still, loving her sometimes from a distance. And towards, now current day, like we have I would say a decent relationship. There's still some woundedness in her, and some boundaries that I have to set. But like there's in the story, there's a promise I made as a child. I was like, one day I'm gonna be successful and I'm gonna take care of you when you get old, grandma. And I was able to show that progression throughout mixtape, because now, like, she's, let's see, what, 83 or something like that. And like, I pay her rent, I bought her last two cars, like I take care of her in her old age, right? um so it's like I'm able to care for her in the way that she cared for me once, but at the same time, it's not it's not seamless, because like I'm bisexual, and I'm, current, like I was married to a woman, and I'm getting divorced, but now I'm like in a relationship with a guy, and my grandma has her opinions about, same sex relationships. So it's like, okay, I have to have boundaries there. So I can love her from a distance, and she can be taken care of, but I also know that I will never feel like an outsider, even in places with people who should love me, because I've I've done that healing internally. So
Mm. Very much beautiful. And I have to be honest with you, it's always not easy, to have someone who really played a very huge role in your life, and they have to be a position whereby they now have to start to be boundaries, because I think some things are not really aligning in the right way. But despite
yeah.
everything, we do know, you do know that our grandmother really played a very huge role in your life during the early stage, and every single thing that she has also added. And that is why I'm so glad that you actually give it back in your book and also in her personal life as well, taking care of her in every single needs that she wants. It's just
Mm-hmm.
that there are some development, because we do know the olden days, stages of mentality and also maturity is different from the maturity we have during our time today. Now we have technology,
Mm-hmm.
we have every single thing which are 100% different, which they do not have during their own time. So there is a lot of misunderstanding that could occur in
Mm-hmm.
regards to this perspective. And also, I would like to drive to the point of your journey to Ghana, because Ghana is very
Hmm.
close to my country here, Nigeria, which is a very profound and
Nice.
insightful place as well. So your journey to Ghana really represents a search for roots and identity. Your roots
Mm.
and identity, Mr. John. What did that experience? What did this reveal to you about who you are and where you came from, Mr. John?
Hmm. Yeah. So, uh, my father immigrated from Sierra Leone, West Africa, and um, when I was in my kind of unlearning and connecting with my roots after doing a lot of healing, I wanted to go to West Africa to connect. Um, and I didn't immediately go to Sierra Leone. I visited Ghana 2 times before I finally made my way to Sierra Leone. And mainly because the internet, I Googled and they were like, well, Ghana is like West Africa for beginners, right? But I also wanted to create my own path to West Africa, to the continent, because there isn't a connection really with my father. Beyond knowing that he's from Freetown, Sierra Leone, I didn't have any, there was nothing significant at the time to go straight there. So I did Ghana. I went to Ghana twice. I've been all up and through that country. Love Ghana. It's I think my chosen home in West Africa. This Past December 2025, I went to Sierra Leone and Ghana. So I went to Sierra Leone, and it was really special because this is the first time I brought my daughter with me to West Africa. So my daughter actually had her 6th birthday in Sierra Leone, which is a full circle moment because my father didn't connect me to the motherland. But as my daughter's father and as someone who has done this journey of, writing this book, and, I even dedicate the book to her to say, like, this is so you don't have to know where you came from. And so it was really special to be in Sierra Leone, to be standing with my daughter at the slave castles in Sierra Leone, where my ancestors were stolen, like really being, and I've been to the slave castles in Ghana, but it hit different knowing this is where I've experienced these spaces and I brought my own child with me. Her connection to her roots will not be broken like mine was. And I healed my own with my own daughter, and it was a beautiful thing. So, West Africa, and going there has been very pivotal to this journey of identity development for sure.
Very much beautiful. And just to let you know, over here too, we also have a slave castle in Badagry, Lagos State. It shows the beauty
Hmm.
and also the identity when it comes to the historic thing and also what our forefathers really faced. And I'm so
Hmm.
glad that you had the opportunity to bring your daughter down to Sierra Leone, where your father was from, and to also make her understand the beauty and also the identity, and also having the space to also visit Ghana once, twice, or 3 times, which is a lovely home. It shows that you value your home, you embrace the people, and also embrace people who show love and care around you as well, which is so much strong and profoundly beautiful as well. And I would like to lastly drive to the point of people who are trying to rewrite their own story. You've tried to rewrite your own story in regards to mixtape, in regards to a book that can actually turn into a playlist and also impact and also bring out your story for people to know you better and also understand trajectories in life as well. So, for listeners who are also trying to rewrite their own story after trauma, what message from your journey would you want them to hold on to as they begin, Mr. John?
The message I want people to understand is that unreciprocated relationships hurt us because they're unsustainable. Every human is wired to need connection with other humans. It's not optional. It's not a want, it's a need. We need each other. and the ways that that is communicated is through love, like, and understanding. I mentioned how I've learned to love, like, and understand myself. So each person needs to love, like, and understand themselves, right? We also have the ability to love, like, and understand each other and to be loved, liked, and understood by others. But that unreciprocated part is, well, what if I love, like, and understand someone, but they don't give it back? Or what if they love, like, and understand me, but I don't give it back? Or what if I don't love, like, and understand myself? Something's going to go wrong. There's going to be suffering. And so the message I want people to know is you deserve reciprocity. And, Mixtape, a memoir, is a series of my unreciprocated relationships. But what I would say is I've learned not to beg for reciprocity. Just like I said, I no longer will be made to feel like an outsider somewhere,
Okay.
because I know that I belong. You know, um, I'm not begging for reciprocity in any space. If I see that I'm working way harder than somebody for a sustained amount of time, I'm going to exit because I'm worthy of reciprocity. Listeners, you're worthy of reciprocity. And that's the message that, seeing Johnzelle through the different stages of development in this book, that's what readers, I think, will connect with is how do you overcome situations that are not, trauma or where you're rejected or you're bullied or whatever. Um, Seek reciprocity, but don't beg for it. And love, like, and understand yourself through it. It's not easy, but it's worth it because as far as we know, this is the only life we got. So,
Thank you so much. As you said, this is the only life we have, and we have to know our worth. We have to know what we really
mm,
deserve, and also what is the best for us as humans. We have to know where we belong and where we do not. We have to know who loves us, and also who are also probably not one or two reason to not really, see us as one of them. We just need to know our values and how we can also align in that trajectory so that we can live a happier life, a life that we feel embraced, a life that we feel fulfilled, and a life not in a position. Just imagine people who commit suicide every single day, a life that can put us into a point of depression. It is not easy. We have to fulfill ourselves, belong to people who love us and also care for us, so we can thrive and also become more better at large. Mr. John, there is also a question I normally ask during the end of the show. From our forefathers, from our ancestors, there are a lot of beautiful things that do exist during our ancestral time that is missing in our time today. If there
mm.
is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, Mr. John, what do you think that thing will be, sir?
What I noticed through my travels to West Africa in comparison to my whole life that I've spent living in the United States, more specifically Virginia, community is not community is the default in in Africa, in West Africa. In the United States, it's every man for himself.
Hmm.
And the way that our ancestors survived was through community. It was through storytelling. It was through collective action. And I wish that, and I found community, especially as a Black storyteller, um, but community is not the default um, in in the United States. It's very individualistic. So if I could bring it back, I would bring back the focus on uh, us taking care of us um, and understanding our value and worth and strength that comes from the collective. I've seen pockets of it, but it's probably why I travel halfway across the world to go to West Africa because I don't have to seek it. It's just there. It's built into the culture. Um, so I wish that we could have community with less fragmentation and um, selfishness, but maybe someday.
We hope it does happen in the coming future, Mr. John. You know, the rise of technology, the people who have a lot of fame. We all know, during our time, during that time, no one knows who is rich or no one knows who is not. But now, every single sees on the internet, everybody has their handle, and those things are evolving, which build a
Mm,
sense of selfishness. It's just that, here in West Africa, there's still less point of people concentrating on social media and stuff like that. So people still come out
mm,
in large, show the sense of love and community, which makes it a bit different due to the time over there in the United States. And we hope that we continue to build the sense of love, family, and also giving the sense of love and care towards the people we find around us, because that is one of the most important things that we do value in our world today. And we want to withhold that and hope it continues to come back to us as well. Mr.
mm.
John, I also want to use this opportunity to thank you for the time, the opportunity, and for us to have this profound and insightful discussion. Thank you so much, Mr. John.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, Mr. John. Have a wonderful day, Mr. John. Bye bye.